So Jimmy Kimmel is coming back tonight. I know, you're all on the edge of your seat just waiting to watch Jimmy Kimmel tonight, aren't you? Good morning. It is great to be here on 95.7 FM KCMO.
Nobody cares.
I know, no one does, but I'm still trying to figure this out. Either Trump is a fascist dictator who was going to kick Jimmy Kimmel off the air single-handedly, or his employer just suspended him because he was being an insensitive jerk during a very emotional and divisive moment in this country. Which one is it? You can't have it both ways. You cannot have your cake and eat it too on this one. But it seems like that's what many are wanting to do. So Kimmel's back, and Disney puts out this statement last night, if you didn't see it. They wrote here, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt, this is Disney, some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return to the show on Tuesday. That is the official statement from the Walt Disney Company. So they suspended him. This was never about Trump. This was never about Trump's FCC. They're not pointing any fingers, which they could easily do. In fact, they're covering for Jimmy Kimmel. They said that his comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. What Jimmy Kimmel said was, yes, ill-timed and insensitive, but the main issue with Jimmy Kimmel's commentary last week is that they were factually inaccurate when he said this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the
Jimmy Kimmel saying that the man who assassinated Charlie Kirk was somehow a Trump supporter, a MAGA guy, or something along those lines. There was never any evidence to back that up. And Kimmel goes on an FCC-licensed broadcast outlet and makes that claim. So ABC actually was soft on Jimmy Kimmel in this statement they put out yesterday. And now he's coming back tonight. Now, there is one company that's saying, in the words of the great Lee Corso from College Game Day, who retired here a couple of weeks back, not so fast, my friend. Sinclair Broadcasting Group has said that they will not have Jimmy Kimmel back on their airwaves. Sinclair, which owns TV stations all over America, writing here in a statement, beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. So Sinclair owns a bunch of local television stations around the country. They do not have one of our local TV stations here in Kansas City, but they revealed that they will not air Jimmy Kimmel Live on their ABC affiliate stations. So they're still trying to figure out, is there something better? Is there something else that they can do? But they're out. Now, it's not yet clear what Nexstar is going to do. They have 32 ABC affiliates around the country. Nexstar owns Fox 4 here in Kansas City, not the ABC affiliate in Kansas City, but it does get a little bit in the weeds here in terms of how some of these companies own ABC affiliates, some of them own Fox affiliates, and it just depends on what market and what city you're in. But Nexstar does own Fox 4 here in Kansas City. Of course, that is not a Jimmy Kimmel station. That's KMBC, which is owned by Hearst. But what's interesting about that is that Nexstar is the one that people were claiming was doing this and canceling or trying to cancel Jimmy Kimmel because they were trying to get a merger done with Tegna and that they needed Trump's FCC to approve the merger between Tegna and Nexstar. And they did this with Kimmel last week and took him off their stations because they wanted to get in Trump's good graces. But it's not Nexstar, at least not yet, who came out and said, we're not putting Kimmel back on the air. Another sign that that theory, at least as of now, doesn't carry any water. So Kimmel's back on the air tonight. Do with the information what you want. I know like 7 of you will accidentally watch.
I'll watch it for us.
Yes, thank you, Mark. You can get the hazard pay. You can put in for it, okay, on workday. Sound good? Work for you?
Yeah, it works for me.
All right, maybe you could put together some kind of parlay. I did see there are actually betting odds. It's offshore betting odds, but there are betting odds on like what Jimmy Kimmel says first tonight. Does he say Charlie Kirk or Donald Trump? There are odds on what color tie Kimmel is going to wear tonight.
How many times will he say sorry?
Yeah, yes. Will he even mention that word? So I have seen that there are Kimmel odds out there, and I may have to get you on this later this morning, Mark, and we'll put together a little parlay for you. Sound good? I'm looking. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
I got the email here. What will Jimmy Kimmel say first, FCC or Carr? Brendan Carr, of course, runs the FCC. What will Kimmel say first, Republican or MAGA? Will he wear a red tie? Will he apologize to the Kirk family? All these different things. So I'll send this to you, Mark, and you draw something good up for me, all right? We're all on the same page? Great. All right. Now, meantime, speaking of television last night, Rachel Maddow was doing her show on MSNBC, and Kamala Harris showed up. How about that? Yes, she did. And she was all over the map. The wine was flowing before she got on this set last night because a line like this makes absolutely no sense.
A tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now, Donald Trump. And these titans of industry are not speaking up.
That is Kamala Harris. I'm President Trump. And I'm trying to figure this out. So Trump is a fascist and a communist. Just so we're all on the same page here. Well, that's quite a feat. I mean, let's how about a slow clap for the big guy. A commie and a fascist and a dictator, all in one. Has anyone ever hit that trifecta before? That's pretty tough to achieve. It's quite a feat. I just have Forrest Gump's. I have his cadence in my head as I'm thinking about this, and I hear Forrest Gump in my head saying something like, and just like that, Trump morphed from fascist dictator to communist dictator overnight as he's sitting there on the bench. I can just hear it right now. Boy, welcome back to the scene, Kamala Harris. Still making no sense as she is promoting her book that I don't think is going to go well for her. As far as I can tell, it's not something that's doing all that well.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
There you go. One of the all-time great lines in American political history right there. We have a plaque outside the studio that has that quote on it that we tap as we walk into the studio every single day. Just like the Notre Dame football players tap the play like a champion sign, we tap our Kamala Harris sign. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. It is one of the many inspirations that I take as I walk into the building here every single morning on KCMO Talk Radio. And she is right there before I walk in to do every single show.
Right next to Fight, Fight, Fight.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Oh, man. It is 6:14. It is great to have you here on a Tuesday morning. Hey, this morning, don't forget, we've got your chance to see Jordan Davis. He's coming to Cable Dahmer Arena this Friday. It's a text-to-win contest at 8:15 here on KCMO. And then your first chance today at $1,000. It's our 5K a day giveaway. It's at 8:34, so a busy 8 o'clock hour. You want to be back for it if you're not typically here on 95.7 FM KCMO. Coming up next, autism takes center stage. What do we know? What do we need to know more about? That's coming up. I will preface my commentary here by saying I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to pretend to be one. All right? We're all on the same page there. I know that's a shocker to you that I am not a doctor, but I'm not. That being said, we will have a doctor on this show this morning, Dr. Christine White, right here in the Kansas City area. She will join me in the 8 o'clock hour, 8:20 here on KCMO Talk Radio, because if you did not see it, yesterday the administration held a big press conference announcing that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration will notify doctors that the use of Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with an increased risk of autism. Now, of course, the problem here is that right away, like in unison, every major national media outlet and even local media outlet in Kansas City rushed to find their experts, rushed to find their doctors to say Trump and RFK are nuts and this is crazy talk and how dare you possibly even bring this up. It was just like, oh my goodness, it was so predictable. I saw it on local TV last night. I'm reading articles here right now. I actually have the article up in front of me from CNN because I read all this stuff across the board because I think that's important for me to do. And it was like the drop of a hat. Everyone at the same time did the same thing and had all their interviews lined up with doctors as to why this is nuts and why this is irresponsible and why this is just Trump being crazy and RFK is a quack and all this different stuff. And I don't know the answer here. All I know is that when you have seen the increase in autism diagnosis rates that you have seen over the last several decades, going from 1 in 68 in the early 2000s to now 1 in 31, and you go back even further, and it was even less frequent. I know there's the conversation around, oh, now we just know what it is. Now we're just able to better identify it. Why wouldn't you want more studies around this? Why wouldn't you want to take a deeper dive into what may be going on here? Now, did Trump get up there and do his usual speak in generalities? Yeah. I mean, frankly, when it comes to stuff like medicine, I think that Trump should just let the doctors do their thing, let the health officials do their thing. I think by and large, Trump should probably stay away from the microphone when these nuanced topics that he is not an expert in come up, because then what happens is the media latches on to some of this stuff that he says, and they're like, well, got him. It's like, let the doctors do what the doctors do. Let your health experts that you have hired to study this be the public voices on this. That way you have the most responsible commentary coming out of the administration. That is one place where I'll say they could do and he could do individually a better job. But studying this, looking into this, exploring why these rates are just exponentially growing is the right thing to do, John.
I think you're an expert when you said, I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
That's the right answer. Why aren't we open to things? We've had no cholesterol, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, all kinds of crazy stuff I've seen in the last 20, 30, 40 years. So let's be open.
Well, here's the thing.
If you think it's safe and you go ahead and take 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or you push that limit that's on the side for your recommendations, you're obviously you're taking a risk is what we're saying. That's all. Consider it.
That's it. And that's what's going on right now. So, I think about this, too, from the standpoint of the phrase settled science. I heard this a lot yesterday in some local TV broadcasts. Well, it's settled science that Tylenol is safe during pregnancy. Science cannot ever be settled. I mean, that's the idea of science. It's always evolving. There's always new information. That was one of those lines that was used extensively during COVID, the settled science. It's an oxymoron. There can't be settled science. Theoretically, anytime you get new data, new information, it's no longer settled. So, there was a lot of commentary on this yesterday. RFK, President Trump, the guy to me that should be the spokesman for all of this is Marty McCarty. You may recall him. He used to appear quite frequently on various television shows talking during the COVID years about what's going on with that vaccine, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he is now with the administration, and here's what he had to say in part yesterday.
Today, the FDA is filing a Federal Register notice to change the label on an exciting treatment called prescription leucovorin so that it can be available to children with autism. Autism may also be due to an autoimmune reaction to a folate receptor on the brain, not allowing that important vitamin to get into the brain cells. It's a fairly established, mature pathway. Again, we have a duty to let doctors and the public know we are going to change the label to make it available. Hundreds of thousands of kids, in my opinion, will benefit. One study found that with kids with autism and chronic folate deficiency, 2/3 of kids with autism symptoms had improvement, and some marked improvement.
Okay, so that was Marty Makary. I mean, this guy has spent his entire life doing this. He's a Harvard guy. He now is, of course, with the Trump administration. Leave this to Marty Makary. He actually got in on a bipartisan basis as the 27th Commissioner of Food and Drugs. He is well respected. He has a great background. We don't need Trump going up to the podium and being like, yeah, the Amish don't have any autism. It's a miracle. Like, there may be something there. I don't know. Trump ain't a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Most of us are not doctors. Let's leave this one, of all the things that Trump leaves to somebody else, let's leave this one to the experts. Because if not, what then happens is that Trump says something, the media hyperventilates on that, and then they miss the good stuff that's actually being said by the people Trump is put in position to hire and to get to the bottom of what may be going on. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we need to be doing, not listening to Trump pontificate about autism at the podium. Nathan's in Kansas City. What's up, Nathan?
Hey, Pete. I listen to you regularly, and I wanted to chip in today and talk about the autism issue.
Yep, go ahead, my man. I got a minute for you. What's happening?
That's right. Yeah. So, I know the president talked about the Tylenol and stuff, but people are, because I have my oldest son is autistic, and it's been pretty hard on us. We did everything we could. We went everywhere we could go, but we never been able to get anybody to suggest anything to us other than ABA, like therapy, which has been done for years and never brought any help to us. So, for a parent who is who has an autistic kid, this is great for us, because at least people need to stop focusing on the Tylenol things and kind of see that, there's some hope. There's something that they at least brought in that could help us, in this process, and that's what I posted on my Facebook yesterday. I was like, I told people, hey, I'm a conservative Republican, but this is not about politics. This is just about a solution. At least they're talking about it, and they're doing something about it. It may not be it may not be perfect, but it's something that at least we can rely on. Thank you very much. Pete.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate you checking in, my man. That's right. They're talking about it, doing something about it, exploring it, investigating it, studying it. Not just saying, nothing to see here. Keep going on with your day. That ain't fair. More coming up, news in a minute. He tried to break in to the New York butcher shop at about 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. Channel 9 wrote about this yesterday. And the guy doesn't realize that they've got, glass. They've got shatterproof safety glass at their building. So there's surveillance video of this guy throwing a brick 3 times at the front of the shop, and the glass doesn't break. And he's sitting there looking all confused when his brick is breaking off and bouncing off of the glass. What's going on here, John?
That's one of those cheap old Antifa bricks left from the Summer of Love down there, right? It's kind of been sitting out in the weather. Gotten dry and brittle.
Oh, man. It's like me when I was doing yard work. I used some old dirt I had in a bag that was half open. I'm like, man, this dirt's no good. I got to go get new dirt. Same thing. You use old bricks, man. That's what happens to you. Jeez. So the New York butcher shop shared his video of this guy trying to break into his shop, and the dude can't break in because, well, he's got shatterproof safety glass, which is sad that you have to basically think about that when you've got a business on the plaza these days, but that's the world that we find ourselves in. So I'm glad that this thug was not able to break in to the New York butcher shop there off the plaza, but at the same time, it's like, man, what are we doing when this guy's like, yep, that's why I've got it there, so guys like this can't take an old brick and toss it at my window and try to break in and steal from my business. It's sad they have to do that, but at the same time, it's the reality of the situation here in Kansas City. Now, speaking of that reality, I saw this from our good friend Sean Smith, Jackson County legislator. He had this story yesterday that he is offering up the Jackson County Jail as a temporary facility for Kansas City. Now, that's awfully nice of him, and this is a no-brainer to me.
Such a nice man.
But apparently, it's been put on hold. So an offer of the current Jackson County Jail as a temporary facility for Kansas City has been put on hold. Why? Well, yesterday, legislator Sean Smith offered the resolution during the legislature's meeting. Instead, Chairman Deron McGee referred the offer to the Justice and Law Committee for further consideration. So Jackson County's current jail is in downtown KCMO, but it won't be next year. The county is building, of course, this new jail north of I-70. So Sean Smith is like, hey, KCMO doesn't have a jail. They haven't had a jail in more than a decade. We learned from Fox 4 over the weekend that they're probably not going to start construction on the new Kansas City jail until 2027, which means what? We might be up to 4 years out from having a jail in this town after we haven't had one for over a decade now. Only the most incompetent of incompetent in a major American city could go a decade and a half without a jail. And that's what Kansas City could be on the verge of doing here. So Sean Smith is saying, hey, once we move out of our current jail site, which is totally full in downtown KCMO, and we move out to this new complex north of I-70, why not allow Kansas City, which doesn't have a jail, to use our old jail? Because the inmates from the current jail could be moved to the new one in Jackson County as soon as February. That gives Kansas City a spot to use, especially ahead of the World Cup next summer when it's going to be very busy. Right now, because the city doesn't have a jail, municipal suspects for crimes like domestic violence are sent out to Vernon County, 90 minutes away. Or Johnson County, Missouri, an hour away. Why not be good partners here and say, yeah, sure, the guys at KCMO can use our jail cell. John, this seems like a very smart, reasonable, and sophisticated approach with the taxpayer dollars. Why not do this?
Yeah, maybe some Kansas officials could put together a Star Bonds district for us in the spirit of cooperation.
That would be nice. I'll take them up on that. But now you've got the chairman being like, well, this has to go to committee first. It's like, because Kansas City cannot play nice with Jackson County and vice versa, the entire region is worse off for it. We waste money. We waste the time of law enforcement who has to somehow get these city violators down to Vernon County, out to Johnson County. We've got that part of this. That's a major problem as well. And it's like, guys, just make this easy. For once in your lives, can you make this easy in Jackson County and Kansas City? Say to Kansas City, take our jail space for now, do with it what you want, take it off our hands, use it for criminals, and we're going out to our new facility north of I-70. Don't make this any more difficult than it needs to be, for crying out loud. But it's like they just can't help themselves. It's like you get into politics and you try to figure out how to make everything as difficult and as complicated and as stupid as you possibly can. And that's what it looks like is at least in part going on here. It's a great thought from Sean Smith to say, Kansas City, when we move out of our jail space next year, you guys can have it. But now the rest of the legislature, or at least the chairman, Deron McGee, who really desperately wants to replace Frank White. And I don't know if that's playing a role in this, but this guy, Deron McGee, he wants to be the county executive. He wants to be the next Frank White. And Frank White's recall is 1 week from today in Jackson County. So I don't know if there's a political game that he's playing here, but if he is, shame on him. Don't refer this to committee. Help out Kansas City. Be a good partner for the biggest city in your county. And let's save some taxpayer money while we do it. It feels like a no-brainer to me. Now, also on the law enforcement front, yesterday, the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department released video of their new blue light car feature on Facebook. So these new car features are intended to increase visibility and deter criminal activity. So It's going to encourage police presence. What you see in the video posted on Facebook, the blue lights on the car pictured are basically just this steady burning, and they do not signify an emergency. And I'm all about this. It's basically a way to say, hey, we've got some police in the area. I see no downside to it. If that triggers you, if that upsets you, that there's a cop in your area, well, the problem is you, not the police.
I was thinking maybe it could play music. Like the ice cream man plays music when he comes around. If you want to know he's around, play the Miami Vice theme or
How about the cops theme?
Yeah.
I would love that.
Bad boys. What you going to do?
Oh, give me some Bad Boys, Mark, going into the break, all right? I would love that. That would be fantastic.
Inner Circle, Bad Boys.
I love that. That reminds me of being 5 or 6 years old because cops would come on after the local news my parents would be watching in the mid-'90s. And then cops would show up. And, man, I would remember watching like 5 minutes of Cops at like 6, 7 years old. And I was like, well, don't want to end up like those guys.
They filmed a lot of those in Kansas City.
Yeah, there were some great ones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There was a woman in Kansas City, Kansas who had an abusive husband. But you see her out on the street, and she's out in front of her house, and she's just waving her hand, signaling the cops to come over. And she's tied this drunk old dude up with a phone cord. Got him hogtied. And she's like, would you pick him up and get him out of here?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you'll have to. That's entertainment. Hours of entertainment.
Oh, man.
YouTube,
I know what I'm watching on YouTube later today.
Mm-hmm.
I see it here that there were episodes filmed in Kansas City in 97 and 99. I was watching it earlier than that. I'm thinking like 94, 95 was my heyday for watching Cops. But either way, that's just tremendous work. Yeah, play the Cops theme song while the cop with the blue light is rolling through parts of town. That would be fantastic.
I like it.
I mean, that's just a no-brainer. Great idea, John. You should be on the Board of Police Commissioners. That's what we need.
Right.
All right?
I'll get on there. I'll try to get on there.
When the next seat is up, I'm going to ask Quentin Lucas on Thursday.
Nathan here.
Yes, if he can nominate you to be a fellow board member on the Kansas City, Missouri Board of Police Commissioners.
Next time you have Brad Lemon on, maybe I'll give him a buzz. Help me out.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
You know, I saw a lot of people Sunday afternoon and yesterday saying that Charlie Kirk's memorial service locked up the midterms for the Republican Party. And I just don't believe that. I would love for that to be true. Obviously, I want that to be true. And I speak that and I say that and I admit that from a very biased perspective. But I don't want to let the emotions of Sunday cloud my vision of what's potentially to come. Because as I noted yesterday, our brain power is that of an ant these days. We don't have any memory, and I speak for all of us when I say that. Culturally right now and socially right now, we just don't have it. Yesterday feels like a week ago feels like a month ago, and a month ago in this news cycle feels like a year ago. That's the world that we find ourselves in. So yes, I would love it if Sunday was literally and figuratively a come to Jesus moment for tens of millions of Americans who are now working to see the light, putting their faith first and foremost in their lives, and that is leading them, politically speaking, to a more conservative worldview. I believe that would be tremendous for the country. But it's never that easy. And I don't think it's going to be that easy. And while I would love to be wrong about that, the reality is, as much as the last couple of weeks may have been eye-opening for a lot of people who either were not really all that politically engaged, who now know about Charlie Kirk and understand what his message was and what his mission was, and they're hopefully seeing some of the light. Maybe there are people who are politically agnostic or maybe, more middle of the road who may have a more right-of-center conservative worldview after the last couple of weeks. I would love for that to be the case as well. But there's no real polling that I've seen around that you can latch onto. And you can't do this stuff and come to these conclusions just based off feelings that you have. But there was this yesterday, and it came courtesy of CNN, which was sharing some polling that was done in the last couple of weeks from the Washington Post. And if you are looking for a reason to be sitting here in late September, about 13 and a half months out from these midterm elections? Well, one thing you do have to be encouraged by is some of the polling from the Washington Post. If you are on the right side of the political aisle, this is Henry Enton, he's entertaining over there on CNN. He does a great job with the delivery, just rolling it out and saying to the Democrats on CNN, he's making this case on CNN, that you guys might be in more trouble than you care to admit.
Yeah, what are we seeing? Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, oh, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime, a big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans? Look at that, lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Give some context on this. Compare this when Republicans last took the House.
Yeah, let's compare it back to 2022. I think this kind of gives away the game right here. Okay, the GOP is more trusted than the Dems on the economy. It was 12 points in 2022. Slight decline in that lead, but still 7 points. How about immigration? It was Republicans by 3 back in 2022. Look at this. The Republican lead's actually gone up by 10 points. What are you doing, Democrats? My goodness gracious. And on crime, the Republicans were up by 13, and now they're up by 22. The lead, again, expanding by nearly double digits. So whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working, Kate. It ain't working. Republicans have the lead on all 3 issues.
What's the reason that you...
By the way, this guy's, he's an entertainer out there, man. He's outstanding. Guy could do a talk show if he wanted to. Henry Enton, CNN, continuing on here.
We're finding so far that's driving this.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about the center of the electorate, right? You win with independents, you win overall. And what do we see right here among independents? Republicans still have a point lead on the economy. They got a 10-point lead on immigration. They got a 21-point lead on crime. The bottom line is when you look at these numbers, Democrats should call their offices because at this particular point, even if Republicans, or even if the public doesn't like what Donald Trump is doing, they ain't necessarily liking what Democrats are doing. And it ain't just a referendum on one party. You actually have to go out and beat that party at this particular point. Democrats are not able to beat Republicans. They still
and again, this isn't as Donald Trump came into office. These are numbers from this month.
These are numbers from September of 2025. We still find that the Republicans leading on all 3 of these issues. And, of course, this economy will be the key. If Democrats are going to win, they're going to have to likely win on the economy. At this particular point among independents, you see that 1-point lead for Republicans. And overall, at least according to the Washington Post, they hold a 7-point lead on the economy overall.
So that was Henry Enton on CNN yesterday. And the polling clearly shows that on the major issues right now, generic Republicans lead on the ballot over generic Democrats. And 13 months out of, a midterm, that's a big deal. That's great news if you are someone who wants to see the Republicans hold the House and hold the Senate. That's outstanding. But it's going to come down to this one thing. It will come down to that economic number. And right now, Republicans are +7 there. They're +1 with independents. On the immigration issue, they're up double digits. On the crime issue, they're up 22 points. Why do you think Trump is leaning so much into the crime issue right now? Whether it's Washington, D.C., whether it's his beef with Chicago or California. Now, of course, he's going to Memphis. We'll take you here in Kansas City. I won't speak for Mayor Q, but maybe I will. We'll take you here in KC. All right? Send the boys over this way when you're done in Memphis there, Mr. President, please.
We got barbecue, too.
Yeah.
Such a nice man.
We'll gladly take you. But he's doing it because it's a political winner. Right? Because if he goes into some of these cities with the National Guard and they see a major reduction in crime, and they will see a reduction in crime, there's no doubt in my mind, you will get bad actors off the streets. You will at least temporarily solve the crime issue. There will be people who are like, wow, this actually works. Having more law enforcement around is a good thing.
Talk about a bombshell.
Who would have ever seen that coming? I can't believe it. So, yes, it's the right thing to do, because it's saving lives and it's getting criminals off the streets, but it also is a major political winner. And of those 3 issues, economy, immigration, crime, it's right now the biggest winner for the Republican Party. That's why they're doubling down on it. Don't kid yourself. I do believe they want to do right by the people in these cities, even if they didn't vote for him. But it's just as much politics. You got to be fair about it here. But that economic number is going to be the telltale sign. If people start to feel better about their economic situation in the next 12 months, then the people in charge, the party in power, will get rewarded. If things don't improve, if we enter this phase of potential stagflation, where you can't get the inflation number further down towards 2%, where the labor market weakens a little bit more, then it's not going to much matter about the other stuff, even if you have major advantages on things like immigration and crime. And to tie it back to Sunday, I would love for that expression of faith to be an eye-opening day for tens of millions of Americans. I want that to be the turning point, no pun intended, as it's been dubbed, for America on major cultural issues and faith issues. I want that to happen. I just don't know if in a world where the news cycle moves so quickly and we move on too quickly, if that can truly be the case. Coming up next, Jimmy Kimmel's back on the air tonight. Wait, stop.
Nobody cares.
Stop. I haven't even gotten to the story yet, okay? What are some of his big allies in the political arena saying after it was announced that Kimmel's coming back tonight? They are twisting themselves into a pretzel. We have some examples next. As always, well done there by Bill O'Reilly on the morning update. Thanks for joining us on a rainy Tuesday morning across Kansas City on KCMO. So Jimmy Kimmel is back in the saddle tonight on ABC. So much for the fascist dictator taking him off the air. I guess that's a thing of the past, huh? That one didn't come to fruition, did it, John?
Well, it's amazing how people pay attention to the original statement that he was suspended indefinitely, so that suggested he might come back.
Yep, and that's exactly what Disney announced yesterday. Mm-hmm. They said here, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It's a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. Now, they weren't insensitive or ill-timed. I mean, I guess they were, but they were also just factually inaccurate. When Kimmel comes on the air Monday and says that this guy's a MAGA guy, that was the insinuation, which there was no basis in truth for. Goes on to say here, we've spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy. And after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So much for Trump and the FCC are going to get Jimmy Kimmel fired, and they're telling ABC and Disney what to do. So much for that, huh? I guess we have to put that one back in the old wallet till next time. They can break that card out, John.
Of course, there was a letter signed by a bunch of goobers in Hollywood, too, and I'm sure they all think they did something.
I know. 400 celebrities I saw. I didn't even know there were 400 celebrities out there.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I don't think it does, man, because I'm like, 400 people in Hollywood that are celebrities?
Well, they got all the key grips, so, that's a couple hundred.
Oh, man. So this was last night. So, of course, last night people are celebrating, hey, Jimmy Kimmel's coming back. Woo! And I know like 6 of you will be watching, but not in John Anthony's household. That's the old line that he uses.
That's right. Not at my house.
No way. Jamie Raskin out of Maryland goes on MSNBC and he says this.
That Jimmy Kimmel will be returning to TV tomorrow night. What do you think?
Well, it's great news. Obviously, the ABC heard from millions and millions of people out there who do not want to accept government-dictated censorship of their late-night talk show host. And so the free speech battle's not over. Obviously, Donald Trump still thinks he's got the power to anoint and appoint comedians in the country in private media broadcasts, but at least ABC is on the right side now, and he's got his employer with him as well as so much of the public.
Imagine coming to the conclusion that this was millions of Americans reaching out to Disney and saying, we don't want government-dictated censorship. ABC's statement, or I should say Walt Disney's statement, is very clear. They take responsibility for suspending production to avoid inflaming a tense situation. They decided to return the show tonight. They didn't say, it was great to hear from all you guys out there over the last few days, and boy, we couldn't do it without you, and you opened up our eyes.
All the key grips and all the actors.
No, that is not what Walt Disney said in this statement. And Jamie Raskin's coming out with this absurdity of, yeah, the people spoke on this one. They got ABC and Kimmel's back here. Oh, my gosh, man. Frank's in Overland Park. Frank, knock some sense into me here.
I don't know, Pete. I'm sitting here, I invest people's money for a living. I'm going, what about the shareholders? What about the shareholders? Is anyone paying attention to what Disney stock is doing? It's down right now. It's 40% down from, I believe, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, something like that. That's a big drop. Now, Sinclair stock is down also, but it's been running along at about the same pace for the last 3 years at about its same price. So my question to Disney shareholders is, when are you guys going to get after the board of directors of Disney and say enough is enough?
That's a great question, Frank. Thank you, my man. Well, here's the thing, and you mentioned Sinclair. Sinclair, which owns 30-some-odd ABC stations around the country, they're not going back to Kimmel. They put out a statement yesterday saying that they are preempting Kimmel until further notice. So this decision may not even be fully done yet. Kimmel returns tonight, but I don't know how long he's going to be there for. And I don't much care. I mean, I don't root for anyone to lose their job. But I don't think this story's over. If Sinclair just says we're done with Kimmel, they have every right to do that. They don't have to carry the show. ABC may be forced into another decision. Interestingly, Nexstar, which everyone thought was like making the move on Kimmel because they want to get this merger approved with this company, Tegna, they haven't said a peep yet as to what they're going to do about Kimmel. But Sinclair is like, we're done. We're not doing this. So we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But, Mark will tune in tonight and watch Kimmel for us. Last night, Turning Point USA had its first event in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And it was hosted by Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire. His show used to be weeknights here on KCMO Talk Radio going back a couple of years. And he was at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. This was their first event since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And you would think that people would want to turn down the temperature, right? I mean, Charlie Kirk was assassinated because he went to college campuses and he tried to do what we supposedly are supposed to encourage people to do. And that is engage and talk and use our words and speak to people who disagree with us. Instead, already, one event in, it's not happening. There are people who are fanning the flames of hatred and sowing division up there in the Twin Cities. Like this. This comes from a woman who is proudly serving Ward 2 up in Minneapolis in a post that went viral on social media last night. She just goes by the name Robin. That's literally, I guess it's kind of like the artist. And it's not her, by the way. It's not that Robin. But it's this woman named Robin who calls herself a black independent socialist, proudly serving Minneapolis Ward 2. So she is a city representative up there in the Twin Cities. And she posted last night on social media, tonight, this University of Minnesota Twin Cities, is hosting an event with Turning Point USA. This is an absurd decision by the university administration, and it threatens the safety of students and our community as a whole. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Speech does not threaten anybody. I thought we were supposed to come to an agreement on this over the last couple of weeks. Speech is not a threat to you. Words cannot hurt you. Someone listening to this kind of rhetoric who's mentally deranged and buys into this kind of rhetoric and then commits an act of violence is the one who is committing violence, not words that you don't like. I just don't know how we move on when we're literally less than 2 weeks removed. We're 24 hours out of Charlie Kirk's memorial service. And you've got people in positions of power. This is not some online troll. This is a person who's a city council member up in the Twin Cities saying that Turning Point USA having an event threatens the safety of students and the community. And to be so dense, and that's me being nice in honor of Charlie, to be so dense in the wake of the last couple of weeks and suggest that somebody showing up somewhere and saying words that you don't like is somehow a threat to the safety of students and the community is so wildly irresponsible. But this is what you get. There's still a large faction of people who believe this, who are going around and promoting this. And it's like, I know we've got to find a level of unification here. I am well aware of that. I just don't know how you do it with this. I don't have the answer. If you can't see a guy get assassinated less than 2 weeks ago who just sat there and had conversations with people he disagreed with, whether you liked what he said or not, if you can't come out of that less than 2 weeks later when the same organization is going to be in your backyard and say, you know what, speech is good. Conversations are positive. We've got to engage with people we disagree with. If you can't come to that conclusion, then I don't know how you get saved. I don't know how you help some of these people. I don't know what you do. And let's just be very clear. Far more of this kind of rhetoric comes from one side of the aisle over the other. Okay? And that is indisputable. You know it and I know it. You can find an example that you want to on either side, but you've got somebody who is an elected representative in Minneapolis saying stuff like this about Turning Point USA showing up yesterday. I mean, that is dangerous. And it's wildly irresponsible. And you're seeing it now, and you're seeing this stuff get platformed to the tune of 1 million views yesterday. John?
Yeah, I think I'd like to make a citizen's arrest. I've been assaulted by Robin.
Yeah,
just Robin.
Just literally, I'm like, what's her last name? I can't find her last name.
That was so tough and brave
I
to
know.
be identified, you know.
Well, her cover photo on social media, it says re-elect Robin for Ward 2 City Council.
Is there an I in the name?
Yes, it's
Robin.
Robin.
I thought it'd be R-O-B-Y-N or
No,
two N's or
no.
2 B's, 2 R's, R-R-O-B-B-Y-Y-N.
No, it's nothing like that. It's not like the singer-songwriter Robin. It's just R-O-B-I-N.
Well, anyway, I'm fearing for my safety.
I am too, man.
So.
I'm with you. It's dangerous. But this is what we've got to get rid of. This is what we cannot be encouraging people to think or do. And the fact that some people are going back to that well already is exactly how we got to 2 weeks ago tomorrow in the first place. It's dangerous. And it's got to be called out. And it's got to stop. And the sooner the better.